1997. What a year. Our guest here today is a senior in high school, and he's looking to defend his 1996 state championship and become a two-time. Sir, if you would, tell us who you are.
My name is Jeremey Rhodes, wrestled at Sheldon Clark High School.
And like we said, you're a two-time state champion. Your 96 video is on the channel. And just a little quick history about Sheldon Clark. We'd like to give the team's history. 2 team state championships, 1994 and 1995. You were a member of the 95 state championship team. Sheldon Clark and Martin County has 19, as of this filming, have 19 individual state champions. The season is about ready to get started, so may add, 1 or 2 more, who knows. But as it stands now, we're at 19. And you are coming into your senior year as a returning state champion. And I like to ask guys this question because we get so many good answers. When you walk into a gym, we know that Coach Matney took you guys to West Virginia, Ohio, very rarely had a lot of meets in Kentucky. But when you go into other gyms, do people know who you are? They know you're a defending state champion coming in?
For the most part, I mean, I didn't think about it too much, but I would say you'd hear people talking at the brackets. You'd hear people at weigh-ins. The other coaches knew who you were. Yeah. Coaches would have conversations with me. I knew who the better kids were from the other teams though also. I mean, if we go to Grundy, I knew who the state champions were from Grundy, Virginia. I knew who, if there was a team coming up from Georgia, I normally knew who was good last year off that team. That happened just about anywhere you went, whether it be West Virginia, Virginia, Ohio. It didn't matter what state you were going to. You normally knew who was good on those teams.
I got you. And I guess the second part of that question is, how men are, the competitive nature in us. When somebody knew who you were, they come out knowing that they probably weren't a good wrestler, but they always wanted to be able to say they, beat a returning state champion, or they took a state champion down, or because they want to be able to sit around when they're, get a little bit older in life. Yeah, Granddad, he took down a Kentucky state champion, or he pinned a Kentucky state champion, or, he may have won it, but I gave him the best fight of his whole season. Did anybody when you wrestled people, was it, you feel like that you were getting like 135%, or you intimidated a lot of people? Was it somewhere in between, or?
You get both. I mean, there were, I specifically remember matches. I remember, I can't remember if it was my junior year or my senior year, Dean Williams from Seneca.
Oh yeah.
He bumped up to wrestle me. And he wanted that better match. I've done the same. Whenever I wrestled Joe Carr my sophomore year, I bumped up. I weighed in at 119, bumped up and wrestled him at 126. There was a kid from Hurricane, Jesse Crouch. We went to a tournament, smaller tournament. He bumped up that way. He'd be in my bracket, and we wrestled in the finals. There were some kids that were intimidated. There were some kids that wanted to step up and have that competition. Mm-hmm. I always respected the ones that wanted that competition because they wanted to get better. They wanted to see where they stood. Dean Williams, a lot of respect for that kid. He was, and I should say man now, he always had a lot of respect for the fact of how he carried himself. He was a competitor. He stepped up because he wanted that competition. And, I felt like I did the same thing. Whenever I went to tournaments, if I noticed there's no one in my weight class, I'd see who was the next weight class up. I'd want to bump, and I've done that a couple of times at tournaments, bump up to get the better competition, to get yourself prepared for regionals and state.
Right. And it should be noted that Dean went on to be a 1998 state champion, 119 pounds. His review video is on the channel. And I think either this 2024, I believe, Dean, I could be wrong about this. I'm sure he'll correct me, but he'll be able to retire from the Marine Corps. I think he's done 20 years in the Marines, 22 years in the Marines, and he didn't come out and say it, but I think he's going to come back to Kentucky and coach a little bit. So Dean, we may have to, get you in the corner, but yeah, Dean, heck of a guy. His dad was also Dean Williams Sr., was a two-time state champion in Kentucky, 1965 and 1966, and he still had his original medals. I couldn't believe it. Whenever I went to their house and he had went and done Dean's video there, and his dad pulled out his medals, I was like, oh my God, these are insane. But that it's kind of cool to get everybody's perspective because, like I said, everybody wants to be able to say they took down a state champion, they pinned a state champion, they beat them, whether it's on a penalty or whatever it is. Everybody wants to be able to say it, no matter how they done in state. They just want to be able to say they knocked off the champ. You know what I'm saying? So 1997, though, like we said, you're a senior. You start off the state tournament with a 3-minute, 29-second pin over Paul Cooper from LaRue County. You get in, you get out. You get to the quarters, you're wrestling Charlie Rowe from Connor, that's out of Northern Kentucky. You get a pin over Charlie, 2 minutes. You get to the semis, you're wrestling Nick Martin from DeSales out of Louisville. You win that by a pin, 1 minute, 34 seconds, and Nick goes on to get 4th place that year. So you end your season, we're going to go ahead and tell you win it. We're not going to say how, but you end your season 55-0, undefeated. It's a pretty good record.
And again, that record with Matney had his own way of getting me in shape, and we go to tournaments. And actually, it was one tournament in West Virginia. I remember very specifically. This was before the officials really paid attention to how many matches you had. The Hurricane, I wrestled the entire team. Like after we were finished, they had a smaller team. It was like he'd just leave me on the mat and exhibition after exhibition after exhibition, and you go through their lineup, and that wasn't uncommon. That was his way of making sure I was in shape. I mean, I had Josh Priest as a practice partner that year, who was a little bit smaller. I had Josh Stepp was there. I got to practice with him some. I think he was a weight class with me, but wasn't as good at that point. But he was good to wrestle with. So you don't get that competition type feel, especially wore down like you've gone through a whole tournament competition. So he'd make me play takedowns with people. He wouldn't let me pin them. Even at state tournament, he wouldn't let me there was no takedown and pin right away. I'd take him down 2 or 3 times, then pin him, or work for a pin. There was no go out and end the match in a hurry. And whenever I was doing exhibitions, it was the same thing. So 55-0, it may have been 55-0. It may have been 40-something-0 officially. It could have been 70-something-0 if you count exhibitions. He knew how to get people in shape that needed that competition, and back then you could get away with it. Now the officials got a little bit better on that.
Yeah, yeah. And hearing the story of you having to wrestle an entire team, that I can see him doing that. I can just see him saying, "Jeremy, get out there, coach. 103, send him out." Just I can see him doing that. You're talking about. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He'd always start with the little guys and work his way up to the bigger guys. So when you're tired, you have to.
Yeah.
That happened 2 or 3 times. I won't say it was an every time thing, but it happened 2 or 3 times, and I enjoyed it, but also hated it because I was tired.
I can imagine. Like I said, that's a great Jim Matney story. And you said about not having quick takedowns and quick pins, because when you get to a certain level, like so far all 3 of your matches have been pins, you get a couple takedowns, cut them, get them taken down again, get a half, less than a minute, you're done, right? You don't get any endurance, any stamina build up that way. But in one of Matney's wrestlers at Johnson Central, J.J. Jude, goes on to be 2-time state champion. In J.J.'s 2012 video, he mentions it was like his quarters or semifinals, I believe. J.J. said he could have pinned the kid in like 10 seconds, but Jim told him, no pins, takedowns only. Takedown, cut, takedown, cut, takedown, cut. And this in the state tournament. This ain't, a Tuesday night meet at, whatever school. This is the state. And JJ was returning, but that was, I guess, Jim's way of just, hey, you got to be sharp the whole match. You can't, let up. No, nothing crazy. But you're in the 97 finals. You're wrestling Michael Kidd from Woodford County. Now, the last match you're ever going to get to wrestle as a Sheldon Clark Cardinal in high school is against Woodford County. You mentioned Woodford County. Shout out Woodford County. You said they gave you your 3 losses the year before, I believe. So it's
2 years.
Oh, yeah, 2 years before. And the I guess a little bit of payback, a little bit of redemption here. And Woodford County in 97 goes on to win the team title. They had some great wrestlers on that team. Your Ian Horns, your Joe Carrs, your Chris Dunns. I mean, just we go on and on, the great wrestlers on that team. So it's got to feel good to be back in the finals. You're, like I said, your last time getting to wrestle for Matney, your last time getting to wrestle in that red, white, and blue of Sheldon Clark. So when you win your semifinals, you're going into the – you're going into the finals. Do you still have the same, like, feeling? Is it excitement? Is it let's just go on to the next match? How do you feel there?
For me, it was honestly just I'd wrestled him once or twice earlier that year. I wrestled him at regional finals. I didn't want to go out. There wasn't going to be no takedown and pin. It was going to go out, and we wanted the match to go a while. I wanted it to be a dominant performance from start to finish, and really wasn't as good as what I expected it to be. I wanted it to look easy, and it didn't look easy. He made it difficult. I mean, he was not quite my caliber, but he was still a really good wrestler. And I didn't want it to be. I've seen other guys, other videos. I didn't want it to be go out there, take down pin, get off the mat, and not enjoy that experience. Not enjoy that time on the mat out there with everyone cheering for you. That my junior year, I don't even remember the crowd. My senior year, I remember the crowd. I remember actually looking out and seeing people. You could actually enjoy it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Now, during the season, my senior year, I enjoyed my junior year more than I did my senior year. But at state finals, I think having been there a couple of times already, I was able to really take a step back and look and enjoy it a little bit more. And again, I wasn't that raw, get super excited guy. I didn't, I wasn't, jumping up and down after my match. That just wasn't me. I expected to win. I expected to win any match I got into, but I knew that I should win that match, and I, obviously went out and won that match. It was so I wasn't nervous going into it. I was, I'd watched Josh Priest's match a couple matches before that. I get more excited about those matches, like my cousin Scott's match, the year before Josh that year. Obviously, coaching now, I get more excited coaching than I ever did as a wrestler.
Yeah. No, I get it. And I think that's a good spot. Let's go ahead and get this pulled up here. Our second year at the Dungeon and your third time in the finals. Of course, you had 1 year, 1995, in the finals at Atherton, and, of course, both years here at the Dungeon. So let's go. This year they've got some music pumping. And here in a second, I'll say something. You come out and you go to walk off the mat again, and the referee has to grab you because in 96, you just take off. There's no photo, nothing. You just go. I'm ready to go. So coming in as a senior, had your wrestling game really changed, or had you just kind of perfected stuff you knew you were already good at, or?
Hadn't changed that much. I was finally, as strong, I felt, as most of the kids in the weight class. I always felt like I was weaker than most people up until really my senior year. And I wasn't cutting weight. I weighed probably 132, 133 most of the year wrestling. Wasn't cutting weight, but just physically stronger because I was a senior, 18 years old versus guys that were, 15, 16, 17.
Yeah, and you can tell here, I mean, you've got some pretty good definition in your arms, so you can tell you're a pretty strong dude.
Again, though, I mean, I don't think I ever did anything really flashy at all. There was, even when I wrestled in college, nothing flashy. I got a lot better on my feet and in college, obviously, but to me, it was just always going back and watching my matches were always boring. They already hit him for stalling right there, and I thought it was a little early, but he just backed off 30 seconds earlier.
So you cut him right there. Was that just I want another takedown, or
Yeah,
like you said, you just don't want it to end?
There's still plenty. I would need another takedown. That was just normal routine. And at a takedown, there's less than a minute to go. I'm gonna get another takedown.
Yep.
And,
there you go. You get another one right there.
and I wasn't going to force anything. Also, I mean, I wasn't going to try to force anything crazy to end up giving him a chance of getting on top and catching me somehow.
Yeah.
I picked with solid stuff that wasn't real high risk. And that was pretty much my game.
Right there, you looked at the referee like, come on, he's not doing anything.
Yeah, he was. He wasn't going to do anything to get turned to his back. He was being smart.
Yeah, and he wins the toss, the first. You take down, and somebody got a caution right there. You can't tell the way the video is filmed.
He did.
Okay, I was going to say, I don't think you move too much. Right out of you move, or you get your escape, right out of the gate, probably less than 2 seconds in. And, this match has Coach Matney in your corner, legend, and it's got Coach Rusty Parks and Joe Carr for Woodford in the corner. So you got, 3 legends of the sport here in the corner. Did you have a lot of family here at the match or the finals this year? A lot of friends from school?
Both years. I mean, our team always traveled well anyway, but we had people, family that came in also. I think some friends from West Virginia came over also. He just got hit for falling again.
So there it is. You get another takedown. Lift, return. Yeah, and you mentioned Josh Priest earlier. Josh's 97 and 98 review videos are on the channel. So if you're a Sheldon Clark, Martin County fan, you know those guys. Be sure to check out the Martin County playlist we have made up. And we got a little bit of a break in action. You're going to be inducted into the Martin County Hall of Fame later this month, I should say.
Josh was hard for people to practice to wrestle with. He had such really long hands. He could wrap and get off and just hang on to you. He was another one of those kids, just good about finding what worked for him and sticking to it.
Yep, absolutely. You're holding on there. You move up the body, which you already had it. So, I mean, this is a great performance so far. Just staying on, not making any mistakes. Yep, you and all the eligible Martin County State Wrestling champions are being inducted into the Martin County Hall of Fame, which is a great honor to have that over there. And he takes neutral. I was kind of like, well, okay, not much really's happened on the bottom. He couldn't hold you down, so when you've only got 3 options, why not go ahead and take that one? So you get another takedown. Just an absolute takedown machine here.
I kept waiting. I remember thinking at this point that at some point I'm going to have to look for an opportunity to something I can turn him and pin him in. Mm-hmm. He never really gave it. I mean, it's like he didn't give me any options to pin him the whole match. And early on, I wasn't looking for that. But once we get to a certain point, I was looking for where's that opportunity to turn him over and pin him.
Right.
He never really gave that. I remember forcing it at the end of the match, like just trying to force a cradle. Mm-hmm. But I don't there wasn't any chance really to just turn him to his back easily. I mean, there was constant pressure on top, kept looking for an opening, never gave it. So. Like even right here, I was kept waiting for him to give me an opportunity. Whenever I kept waiting for that, either a bottom leg cradle where I could reach across, and he never gave it.
Yeah.
I remember forcing this, and it really wasn't. And at one point here, I thought he was pinned, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, well, nothing yet. Nothing yet. Nothing yet.
Yeah, he did well not to give any opportunities throughout the match.
Yeah, he looks like he could be flat right here if you right there. Of course, you get 3 near fall out of that. And that's where this one ends. Give the headgear a good toss over to Coach Matney.
Yep.
For good measure. And this one does have the medal ceremony. So there you are on top of the world. Getting your bracket, getting your medal.
All of us had number 38 on there because that was supposed to be like a picture of 2 wrestlers on there, but all of our warm-ups that year just had number 38 instead of the actual picture of the wrestler on there, which was somebody messed up somewhere and we kept them.
Yeah, somebody made a boo-boo at the screen print place. So I have to go back and say, hey, need to reimburse Sheldon Clark Wrestling for some jacked up warm-ups. But Jeremy, man, watching 97 back, does it play out the way that you had remembered it all these years before actually getting to watch it?
Yeah, pretty accurate. I mean, there's little things. I mean, going back and watching yourself after you've wrestled in college and then coached for years, you're wanting to like, why didn't I do this? You know, man, I was forcing everything. There was no setup. There was no the crispness isn't there that I feel like I would have had later. But you get in college, you can take an average high school wrestler, put them in a college wrestling room, they get better really quick because everyone you wrestle, everyone's a man.
I can only imagine. Now, you said a couple of times that you wrestled in college. So where did you, for those people that don't know, where did you wrestle in college at?
I went to Gardner-Webb University. It's in North Carolina.
And I think, didn't Josh Priest join you there for a couple years?
Josh Priest came down there his freshman year. He was just there that one year.
Okay.
Wrestled some tournaments, did well. It's a big adjustment. I can remember a big adjustment going from high school to college. I mean, you're in high school, you might have 1 or 2 close matches the whole year. Every match, just every tournament you go to, you're going to have close matches. You're going to have Josh had 3 or 4 overtime matches in the first couple of tournaments. That doesn't happen in high school.
That would be, unless you're competing on, like you talked about earlier, like an all-star team going to other states or competing at like Fargo, Super 32, Ironman, Beast of the East. You're probably not going to have 4 overtime matches in your first 4 true bouts.
Yeah,
in high school.
It was. I enjoyed college. It was fun. I mean, I got to see like Kevin Case wrestled at Cumberland. I wrestled at college. That was always good. Dax Harris, who wrestled at Sheldon Clark, he was at Cumberland for. I got to see some of the Kentucky guys and some guys I got to wrestle against, or at least see at tournaments. Some of the guys from West Virginia, I knew I'd see them. They were wrestling at West Liberty or other schools in the area. Always enjoyed catching up with them.
No, that's cool. And earlier you talked about coaching. Where do you currently coach at?
I've been helping at St. Mary's High School for the last several years. I coached at Ripley High School for a while as an assistant. Coached at South as an assistant for a while, and then whenever I moved up here into Pleasants County, which is about 30 minutes from Parkersburg, I've been coaching up here now for about 12, 13 years.
Okay, I got you, because I remember one of the meets at Johnson Central. I met you for the first time, and if I'm not, I could be wrong, but didn't you have like a purple and yellow, purple and gold?
Yeah, like a purple and gold singlet. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was trying to, on getting this ready, I was trying to remember, and I remember seeing you there like in purple coach's shirt and all that, everything. So it was kind of cool to put a we'll say this and we'll wrap it up. But for so long, the banners hung in Sheldon Clark's gym. Jeremey Rhodes, 96, 97 champion. There was a photo of you in a trophy case. But if you just wasn't in the gym, you just wasn't there at the state finals, you never got to see you wrestle. I mean, there was no way to have a platform like this. Now, we've been able to open up the entire state of Kentucky, the entire world, basically, to what Kentucky wrestling has to offer. And we've been able to become the flag bearer, the flagship sport for Kentucky high school athletics on the entire YouTube platform. There's not another Kentucky high school sport. There's not another sport in the country, no matter what state it is at the high school level, that has the accessibility, the availability, the history that's been put out, the matches we've been able to put out, like Kentucky high school wrestling. And it's guys like you, the Sheldon Clark guys, no matter what school you're from, no matter what year you wrestled, anybody that'll hop on and do the video with me, do it in person. We're just adding another chapter to the already growing and the extensive library that we've been able to create that documents Kentucky high school wrestling.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I haven't seen all the videos on the channel. I've watched several of them, though, especially the guys that I knew. Gone back, I getting to watch Bruce Stepp wrestle. I mean, I'd always heard about Bruce being a man among boys, and he was. I mean, he was just a brute. Technique wasn't even required with him. I mean, he had decent technique, especially for a big guy, but he was just a man among boys. He could take just about any heavyweight, it looks like, and just manhandle him. And I was always that little guy, and I'd wrestle with our heavyweights. I wrestled with Josh Stepp, but I'd come back and roll around with him, or sorry, Joey Stepp.
Right.
I come back and roll around with him. He was 285 pounds of just man, even when he was in high school. But I was always that guy, come back in and have to try to find a way to beat someone like him. I remember his senior year trying to wrestle with him. He finally figured out he didn't have to move, and if he didn't move, I couldn't beat him. Bruce Stepp was one of those guys that would take those guys like Joey Stepp and manhandle them, and you just didn't. Yeah. You don't see guys like that. I've seen one or two. There, Zach Frazier, who's playing football at West Virginia now. He was a Virginia. He took the best guys in the state and manhandled them. That's what Bruce did with him, because he was just that athletic, that strong. And it was fun to go back and watch his videos. The ones that we had, I think there was one missing, if I remember right. But
as it stands now, of course, Sheldon Clark has 19 state champions. I have video for 16 of the 19. Your 96, 97s made number 14 and 15, and we're going to be meeting with Billy Clark, 2002 state champion, to make number 16. We're missing Bruce's 93, Archie Stepp's 93, and Ryan Kelly's 09. When we get those videos, we know they're out there. We just got to get our hands on them when we get them. We've already talked to them. They're more than willing to, do the review videos for them. It's just getting in possession, and you talked about Bruce. Bruce was, when I got Bruce's video, and he drove in from Ohio to meet with me to do his in person. And when I put it out, so many people from Martin County, just across the state, no matter where, was like, I've heard the stories about Bruce. I've heard, he was like Andre the Giant out there, just pick guys up, spin them on his finger, lay them down, put their foot on them. They just give up, all the little jokes and everything. But and with you, I've said in other videos, my tops of the best Sheldon Clark wrestlers in some order, you're number one, Josh Stepp, Billy Clark, and Josh Priest are the next three, depends on how you look at it. So, I mean, Bruce, if you look at state championships, yeah, he's got three, but like you said, he was muscle and just massive. You guys had the technique. You, Billy, Josh Stepp, and Josh Priest are, in my opinion, the four best Sheldon Clark wrestlers, with you being at the top of the list.
I appreciate that.
Well, man, and I think we've reached a good ending point. So, Jeremey, man, thank you for doing your 96 and 97 videos. I really appreciate it. I know a lot of people are going to be happy to finally get to watch you wrestle and be able to put, like we said with Bruce and other guys, finally be able to put mat time with the story time about the stories of Jeremey Rhodes and just how good you were. But, guys, that's all that we have. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you on the mats.